Hey friends, welcome to episode 582 of the My 123 Cents podcast. I am Kevin Huntsberger, joined once again this week by Chad Smart. And Chad, I was going to ask you before we started recording, I'm putting you on the spot. What is on your shirt there? I see the rainbow and the clouds, but what else?
This says nothing matters. Smile anyways. This is a Willow Nightingale t-shirt. I figure for the new TBS champion and one half of the AEW tag team champions. I
Okay,
would
nice.
represent Willow Nightingale this week.
Very
And
nice.
plus, it was laying on the edge of my bed, so it was the easiest shirt to grab.
Speaking of nothing matter and, positivity in general,
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little bit of a rant here and many years ago, and I say many years ago, about 6.5 years ago. Um,
That was like 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
Feels
I
like a
know,
long time.
right? It's hard to believe we're in 2026, but I did that whole little stint in Stride Pro Wrestling when Tyler, Heath Atten, and I won the tag team championships.
Why are you
Uh,
using a shoot name, bro?
and when we lost the belts, I don't know if you even remember this, but you did a cameo or commissioned a cameo with
Yeah.
Jervis Cottonbelly, Gentleman Jervis, who is someone that I've had on the podcast and I think you've had real life encounters with.
Mhm.
And I've talked to him, a couple of times at different shows. He's made it here to the Midwest. Anyway, a gem of a guy, and he did a nice little encouraging cameo, which was, very sweet and very gentleman Jervis like. And I was going through some old stuff the other day, and I have a goal of posting content on the YouTube channel and on my TikTok every day in 2026. I want to post something. And so I don't always sit down in front of the camera and record something. So I'll go
Mhm.
find some old videos or whatever. And it was Thursday. So I'm like, oh, throwback Thursday. So I posted this, it was like a minute, 11 seconds. It's a short
Mhm.
clip, but again, very nice and encouraging. And this morning I wake up to two douche pickles who have, one told me that my life was, I was crashing out and that I needed to do something with my life. And then the other one was, basically just uh, telling me I needed to grow up. And I'm like, what? And so I responded back. I usually don't respond to the trolls, but I did. And as they're commenting, one of them has 9 followers and doesn't post any content. So I'm like, okay, these are just people looking to start stuff. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm ignoring them moving forward, but I'm like, I don't understand the mentality of people who take time out of their day, especially someone like Jervis Cottonbelly, who I follow the real life guy as well, and I saw that lately he had posted some not necessarily the best news going on in his life. So I wanted to kind of be like
Yeah.
encouraging and uplifting, and then you get people who start spewing the hate. So my advice to you is if you have something negative to say, we can have disagreements, but to like completely paint someone with a brush of needing to grow up or their life is crashing out or whatever the case is. I'm 52 years old, and I have a pretty damn good life. So I consider myself very even saying the sentence holding the Stride Tag Team Championships to me is still very surreal. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say is just be, you used to do it with positive cynicism. Just be kind, be polite, be whatever, but don't be an ass when you don't have to be. But I
I
think
mean, I
sometimes that creates the clicks, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd never heard the term douche pickle before, but I think I'm going to use it going forward. And let's see if I can grab it. Our good friend, ex-coworker Sweeney, sent me a yodeling pickle for. Goes on way too long.
That almost
Uh,
sounds like him. Did he record that himself?
I don't know, but apparently you can find those at Menards. Not a sponsor.
There you
Um,
go.
but yeah, so douche pickle in the vocabulary going forward.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, and I guess based on what you just said, I guess I have to hang up now because what I was going to talk about on this show, I was going to say as we before we get into the main topic, we had some small back and forths on the social medias last week, and I was going to ask you, tell me why Stranger Things Raw was the greatest show ever.
We talked about the preview, if you will, for
Yeah.
it, and I think we both had an expert. And this is again where I say don't. don't let your expectations dictate how a show is going to be or not be, and not just wrestling shows. I mean, I think
Yeah.
in general, I think people have an expectation about a movie or a TV series or uh, probably not so much in the music world, but I think entertainment wise is, and now that everybody has a voice with social media, they put that out there. But I think I was disappointed in the fact that there were no cameos by any of the actors from the show. I liked how it started off, but then after that, it just felt like another wrestling show. You know, they did a few little things, but it wasn't what I expected. But I also didn't hate it and go online and voice hate for it. But and I'm assuming you kind of are in the same camp, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, the positives, I did like how they gave each segment like its own title,
Yes, that was
and
cool.
I enjoyed that. I thought the set decorations looked good, but my complaints about the show were if this was Stranger Things season one and you're trying to promote it to an audience, that's one thing. But as they said on the show, it's the biggest show in the world right now. So I don't
Mhm.
know why,
Right.
I don't know why they needed the cross promotion. The fact that there was nobody and nothing, they didn't, even if they would have been like, oh, here's a scene from this season,
Yeah.
or as we mentioned, if it would have been done at the beginning when they launched the first part of the final season, but the
Right.
entire season's out. That's like, again, why are you promoting? And the fact that, it would be one thing, I think, when they were on USA, and if they were trying to promote a new USA show where you get somebody who maybe only tunes into USA for Raw and doesn't know what else is on there. Whereas you have to go to Netflix to watch Raw. And I don't know about you, but the whole 2 weeks that I've had Netflix back again, every time I log in, Stranger Things is right there on the front page.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's like, yeah, I know Stranger Things exist. I thought the opening bit with Graves and Cole coming out of the van was very awkward and kind of lame. I don't know what the point of that was, and I'm surprised, and this is something I'll get into a little bit later, but so get your thoughts on it. But there was, again, I was expecting maybe like R-Truth to do like
Right.
be dressed like a demagogue or
Right.
or and I almost sent this to you, and I know the people were complaining because Chris Jericho didn't show up.
Yes.
Which again, I agree with you. WWE never explicitly said Chris Jericho will be there,
Right.
even though Adam Pearce made the teaser video,
Yes. Yeah.
hinting at it. I think there were some commentary lines that were kind of Jericho centric that I don't know if they, do on a regular basis. But I think the demo god could have shown up as a demo Gorgon and would have played off well. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, we said last week that they should do one of two things: either Jericho debuts or Braun Breaker wins the title.
Right.
Instead, they gave us two title changes at the beginning of the show, and then, which I think, I don't know, I'm not too big on Riho or Rio, whatever they're calling themselves, winning the tag title because I don't think they needed it. It's one of those things where it's like you take two single stars and put them together and
Right.
then push them.
Yeah.
And as I said on last week's show, it'll depend on how Maxine does going forward now that she's lost the title. Again, I don't understand the point of just switching it back to Becky, but I did like that the end of the match didn't make Maxine look weak. I thought it was a
Yeah.
very clever way to pin,
Yeah.
and Becky cheated holding the ropes, but it didn't make her look like a fluke champion.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
although that one move where she had her like, I thought she was going for a Corey special, and she just jumped and sat down, and I think even Corey Graves was like, what the hell was
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Maybe some miscommunication, but yeah, overall, I mean, it was a fine show, but I do think that because of the cross promotion and the expectation of Jericho coming in, I think fans did have a little bit higher expectations of what the show was going to be,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and the 1 year anniversary.
Yes. Yeah. I think that when the women's tag and the Intercontinental Championships changed hands,
Mhm.
I pretty much then thought there's no way they're going to switch uh, the world title.
Yeah.
tonight, at least, or on that night. So um, I wasn't disappointed with that either. I again, I'm kind of in the camp of I don't necessarily think it's too soon. If they had changed it, I think it would have been something different and interesting. And
Mhm.
since we're talking about changes, I am shocked, more surprised by the fact that Drew McIntyre is the new undisputed champion. And I don't think we've talked on social media about
Mhm.
that title change this close to Wrestle. We're officially in
Mhm.
WrestleMania season. Is this going to be a short run, do you think, for him, or is this the going forward? I did see a headline. I didn't click on it, but I saw that allegedly both Cody and Drew, it was their idea, or they
Yeah.
are in support of the change, which I take that for what it's worth. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Drew McIntyre, I feel like is kind of one of those guys that, he had that moment during COVID mania,
Mhm.
but never really, other than it was it 2 years ago at WrestleMania 40 when he won it,
Mhm.
and immediately lost it to Damian Priest. But is this finally Drew McIntyre's turn to shine? I think a lot of people had put a lot of stock in him in those, the
Yeah.
COVID Rumble or the Rumble before COVID, I should say, in 2020
Mhm.
that he won. I mean, he was the hot commodity and he was a baby face. So I think that kind of made a difference as well. So what are your thoughts?
I think, and a lot of people have said this online. I think Drew needed to win, or he would have to go away for
Hmm.
an extended period of time to bring him back and
Yeah.
rebuild him. If he had lost another title match, uh, you know, I and I tried. I told you because I don't have USA Network.
Right. I
I
don't
can't
either.
watch SmackDown, so I tried using a VPN to
Oh,
watch
yeah.
the live Netflix feed, international feed, but Netflix kept saying you're using the VPN, stop it, and so I couldn't watch.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious how other people are using it, or if they're using a different VPN. Reading the reading the outcome of the match, I was surprised, and then seeing some video of it, I don't know because I don't know if you've seen the end of the match, but Jacob Fatu
Mhm.
comes in,
Yeah.
Cody starts fighting with him, and then Drew leaves the cage. I think I can still hear Jesse Ventura yelling about it today.
Right.
That he
Yes.
just walked out of the cage. But it's also like he walked out because Cody wasn't paying attention to his opponent.
Right. Right.
And so it just seems kind of a weak way to have Drew win. And
Mm.
again, we'll see where they go and what they do for Mania. But I mean, I would like to see Drew hold the title through Mania at least.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
You know, I AI has obviously become a big part of, and we've talked about that before as well. And I've seen some things in the past where fans make up like an AI graphic that it looks pretty realistic and
Yeah.
says, XYZ happened on this show. That happened the night that because if I remember correctly, the night they kicked Seth Rollins out of the Vision,
Mm-hmm.
that was an international show that had aired earlier in the day, and I hadn't watched it yet. So I saw these still images, and again, these were all just still images; they weren't video. So I'm like, there's no way they've already kicked Seth
Mm-hmm.
out of the Vision. And the same thing happened with SmackDown. I saw and I'm like, Jacob Fatu, they said wouldn't be back until after Mania, so there's no way Jacob Fatu has returned because I have seen some that have been fake. They've been these
Mm-hmm.
AI creations. So later, as I'm scrolling through social media again, I'm seeing the official WWE Instagram popping up in these, and I'm like, holy shit! Because again, and this is what I like about wrestling, and this is what some fans will probably crap all over it, but the unpredictability. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see this coming. I don't know if you thought it was going to happen, but you said you thought it needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like it. I like not knowing for sure and kind of now again, I hope that at the Royal Rumble, they don't instantly give it back to Cody, but I also don't want Cody to win the Royal Rumble. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've announced have they announced anything for the Royal Rumble other than it's in Saudi Arabia in 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, they announced they're building a new stadium, which I think they've broken ground on. Uh, if I was in Riyadh, I don't know if I would be going to the stadium, given that if it's going to be built in like 2 weeks. Um,
Oh, they're literally just now building this. Are you serious?
that I mean, that's based on the photo that I've seen over
Oh,
the last
wow.
2 weeks. Like it's not, it's still a giant hole. So
Wow.
again, I don't know. I know nothing about Riyadh, so apparently this is a new stadium that's going into one of their districts. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Um, they announced on SmackDown, or yeah, on SmackDown that there are eight competitors in a tournament to see who will challenge Drew
Oh, okay. They're
at
doing
at the Rumble.
okay.
So, um, but yeah, I know it's Sami Zayn, either Trick Williams or Carmelo Hayes, um, and Damian Priest and some other guys. I don't remember who, but none of them really made me go like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a great Rumble title match." But then again, title matches at the Rumble are usually the weakest title matches of the year.
Yeah. Although last year, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it Cody and Kevin Owens in that
Yeah,
basically, I think that was one of Kevin Owens' last matches, I think, when he messed up
yeah,
his.
because his match at Elimination Chamber against Sammy was his last.
Okay, okay, yeah. Um, what do you expect to see happen? Do you think Drew goes into WrestleMania as the champion?
I would hope so. I mean, I don't know. The rumor right now, and I stress rumor because, again, if you go back and listen to last week's show when we talk about what should happen on Raw, and none of it happened, I think that proves that you and I don't know what we're talking about, and
Exactly.
we also have no insider source to tell, to say. So, but the rumor is, I think it was supposed to be Punk and Seth and Cody and Roman again. And if they do Cody Roman again, I will just, my eyes, I don't know if they could roll back any further in my head because three, three matches in 5 years or 4 years, whatever it is. It's why I don't consider the Attitude Era to be that great because you had Rock and Austin, headlining Mania so many times. It's like, give me something fresh and new.
Yeah, and let me piggyback off of
Yeah.
that statement real quick because I was listening to something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard is back, and they were talking about the 1991 Royal Rumble, which actually kind of gave me the motivation for this week's episode. And Conrad brought up the point of why didn't you just do Warrior Hogan at WrestleMania 7 as a rematch from WrestleMania 6, and back in that, or even Savage Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
For the title, have Savage beat Warrior for the belt and then defend against Hogan at WrestleMania 7. Um, or have Hogan be the one to, switch out
Yeah.
the Warrior defends the belt at WrestleMania 7 against Sergeant Slaughter or someone else, and Hogan and Savage do the retirement match. Anyway, the point was is back in that time, Vince didn't want to do WrestleMania rematches. He wanted those matches to be fresh and new, and I really think
Mm-hmm.
maybe WrestleMania 9 and 10 is the first time we see it with Brett wrestling Yokozuna twice. But then again, like you said, later on, we get Austin Rock 3 times. We get Rock Cena a couple of times. We've seen Cody. You said
Mm-hmm.
3 matches, and if they do this other one, it'd be
If they
three.
do.
Technically, if you throw in that tag match, it'd be 4
Mm-hmm.
from night one of WrestleMania 40. So it is a very I agree. I think with so much wrestling on now, it's harder to be fresh and new. And I'm still old school in my WrestleMania thoughts of I want to see those unique or as close to unique matchups as you can get. And I think it gets harder and harder with more programming and more PLEs and more streaming services and Saturday Night's Main Event and all these things.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge unless you do different steps or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, but also with their PLEs only having 4 to 5 matches, it should be easy to keep some
yeah,
matches fresh.
yeah.
It's not like you're being AEW and throwing 28 matches onto a show
Mhm.
and trying to
Could you
do
see
everything.
Jacob Fatu challenging Drew? Is it too soon for something like that? I don't want to say, you have this top heavy card of
Yeah.
Brock and Roman and Cody and Seth, Punk and
Mm.
perhaps Seth Rollins. Um, Drew McIntyre going in as the defending champion, again, not something we predicted, not something we saw coming, and it may not even happen. But the point is that a strong enough draw to main event to close out night one or night two of the biggest um, event of the year in wrestling?
Could be. And like you said, with 2 nights of WrestleMania too, which I'm still, I guess when we're talking WrestleMania, I have to wrap my head around that there are 2 nights. So night one can be more of a non-spectacular card, if you will. Um, and that's not to, diminish anybody that's on that show. It's just, I think the mentality is still night two is your main show. Night one is kind of a pre-show to night
Yeah,
two.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't, well, and going back to Cody Roman, again, with Roman not being around since Survivor Series. So, we haven't seen him in 2 months, or a month and a half as of right now. Like for him to come back and then get a high profile main event, and I get it, he's Roman Reigns, he's, been the top dog for the last decade. But to me, it just, and I've said it before, I'm not sold on Roman. And when he comes back and gets that top spot, it's just like, oh, to me, it's deflating for the rest of the roster.
Mhm.
That oh, not that Maxine, Roman has taken a spot from Maxine Dupree, but here's somebody who's worked to better herself and is out there week after week, and you're just like, okay, get shoved to the side because we have the new shiny toy coming in for this month. So, and also with Brock Lesnar,
Yeah.
not being around. So, um, I don't know. If I had to put money on it right now, I would put $5 down for LA Knight to come back and win the Rumble.
Oh, I like that idea.
Just because surely they're doing something with him. Surely, right? I mean,
I
he's
would hope.
not.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot, actually.
I mean, my only problem with
Write it
that
down.
is
$5.
$5. Yes, what isn't that the cost to get into the Royal Rumble contest on my 1 2 3
It
6?
is, and I'm glad you
Oh, look
said
at that segue.
I was going, if you weren't going to pick it up, I was here to help. But yeah, we have several folks who have entered, so it's $5. Just let me know in the comments of the Cash App that you or the either Cash App or Venmo or PayPal what Rumble you want, men's or women's. But yeah, we're looking to fill up all 30 spots on both of those and do some fun prizes and have some fun with it. So you can check out our Facebook page for all the details on that. But I, yeah, LA Knight winning it would be good. I think it would be something different, and that's the other thing too with wrestling fans is we see the different wins of the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Last year specifically, I think everybody seemingly was yeeting and going crazy over Jey Uso until he won the Royal Rumble, and then it was like, why did Jey Uso win the Royal
Mm-hmm.
Rumble? He wanted John Cena to win. And
Yeah.
obviously the story carried on because this is why I don't get all hung up on the Rumble winner because 3 or 4 weeks later, it's Elimination Chamber that is going to perhaps shape. Because I think the last couple of WrestleManias, the Elimination Chamber winner, or at least last year's, Cena went on to
Mm-hmm.
main event night two, which was the bigger show. The Royal Rumble winner I think I don't even know what night Jay and Gunther wrestled. I think it was night one, but it was not the main event.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting perspective too, that the Royal Rumble seemingly has always been kind of the weight bearer, the carrier
Mm-hmm.
of going into WrestleMania. So and I know it wasn't always that way, but oddly enough, we look at the historic significance of the Royal Rumble, and I think it kind of took a little bit of a bump when they added that February pay-per-view into the mix, and then could perhaps change things up. And I
Mm-hmm.
know at one point that February pay-per-view was just more of a space filler, and it didn't necessarily impact outcomes of Mania, but uh, it has had significant impact. What's your overall thought? Should there be something in between? Because I know they use obviously now, and I don't. Is there an elimination chamber in
Hmm.
2026? I haven't
Yeah,
even noticed.
I believe it's in Chicago.
Okay, so using your biggest event is WrestleMania,
Yeah.
obviously. Using the Royal Rumble to determine one championship match, or I guess two championship matches with the women's, and then using elimination. Has that become an overplayed formula? We talked last summer about Money in the Bank and
Mhm.
being played out as an event. Should there be a different way to figure out who the challenger for the other championships are, or does this work with Elimination Chamber being that second chance opportunity, or should the Elimination Chamber, and I think we toyed this around last year,
Mm.
should it be the last six people in the Royal Rumble,
Rumble.
the respective Rumble matches? Have that opportunity then to go on to wrestle for the title.
Yeah. No, I like that idea. I think for me, because the Elimination Chamber has become such a big part of the road to WrestleMania, part of me thinks that the winner of the Rumble should get their title match at Elimination Chamber,
Hmm.
just because then you take out that participant from the WrestleMania main event, which would make the Rumble maybe a little bit more unpredictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but my thing is because you have the Rumble winner who gets to choose which championship, and then the Elimination Chamber defaults to the other championship. It should be, I think, one of them should be set for, either the winner gets their shot at that title. Rumble winner automatically goes to the WWE title. Elimination Chamber is the world title,
Mhm.
or some because or have and I don't think they'd ever do it, but have both winners challenge for the same title, because it almost feels like if the Rumble winner comes out and picks their champion, then the other champion it's maybe not as meaningful or as impactful that the challenger is going to go for that. It doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, I really want that title or I want to beat this person. It's like, oh well, this is who I have to face,
Right.
sort
This
of
is a
thing.
consolation prize.
Yeah. So
And I do like the fact that this year, and as we're recording this on January 11th, we're 20 days from the Rumble. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And then obviously WrestleMania is sometime in mid-April. So um, some years it's been more predictable. We knew Cody was going to win. We knew Cody was going to win the 2 years that he won. Or we basically pretty much assumed that he
well, I
would.
think Punk was going to win. I think everybody expected Punk to win the second year that Cody won,
Oh, did you? Oh, you thought Punk? Okay, I figured
because
Cody.
Punk had just come back, and
Yeah,
yeah, he would.
is
Hey,
that when
Cody had won it the year before.
he got injured in that Rumble, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Um, when Austin won it back in the
Mhm.
day, I think we all saw that coming.
Again, another reason why I don't like the Attitude Era as the standard bearer, because Austin was the only guy that was presented as on the level to challenge for the world title.
Yeah, I mean, look at that '99 Rumble. Vince McMahon won it, but then
Yeah.
lost the championship match back to Austin. But that '99 Rumble may be the worst Royal Rumble in terms of participants in the history of the Rumble.
Even
As
worse than
far as
95.
at least 95, you had some guys in there that, I could have seen Davey Boy Smith or Shawn Well, I guess that, those are your final two participants.
Because
I'm trying to think of who else was in that Rumble. Was
that's
Diesel?
the one with Bill Mascaris and uh, Dory Funk, and
That's true. That is
you
true.
know.
Yeah, there have been some
So I
thinkers.
think 99 had better talent, but not anybody that was a credible challenger.
Yes, that's a better way to say it. Yes. So, and I mean, those real early years,
Yeah.
even though technically, if you really like peel back the layers and look at
Mm-hmm.
the Royal Rumble, it has always, not always, most of the time, it has been a precursor for who is going to be involved in a championship match at WrestleMania. Even those first few years. Because if you technically look at it,
Mhm.
Hacksaw Duggan won the first year in '88
Mhm.
in the tournament for the undisputed championship that Randy Savage wins. Now he gets eliminated in the first round, but he technically was wrestling for the championship. '89, Big John Studd wins. He doesn't even wrestle at WrestleMania. So Studd and Vince McMahon, I think, are the only two Royal Rumble winners who never wrestled at that following WrestleMania. Studd referees the match between Jake the Snake and Andre the Giant. 90 and 91, it's Hogan. In 90, he is the champ. 91, he wrestles Sergeant Slaughter for the championship. And then 92, of course, Ric Flair wins the belt. And then after that, 93 on, it's been. So for over 30 years, we've seen this concept of the winner of the Rumble. And it hasn't always worked out that way. And I like when they do the statistic package. And I actually did a quick search on ChatGPT before we started. 527 superstars approximately have competed in the Royal Rumble. Unique superstars.
You say approximately 527 because I think El Torito and Hornswoggle have both been in the Rumble, and so that takes off half a.
Half a point, which,
Yeah.
and I know if you go back and, again, we can go back to those 80s and 90s Rumbles and remember these things more clearly than even last year's Rumble, for example. But, 1990 was unique, or no, I'm sorry, 91 was unique in that there were only 29 men in that Rumble because Randy Savage never made it out after he smashed the Ultimate Warrior with the scepter. We never saw Savage again that night. So, there's fun little tidbits like that. And then, of course, the year that R-Truth, I think, entered the Women's Rumble,
Mhm.
got thrown out by Nia Jax, but then Valhalla or whatever the Viking woman's name
Mhm.
was, she got into it. But anyway, I just love this time of year. I like looking at all the little retrospects and some of the fun moments because I do think the Royal Rumble is probably not probably. I'm not even saying I think the Royal Rumble is the greatest gimmick match of all time. Um,
Even better than TNA's King of the Mountain.
I would have to go back and watch, but yes, I would say that just because of the longevity, the unpredictability, because it's not the same. It's not always the same formula or format. And I know they got into like grooves where we did the spot with Kofi almost getting eliminated, and that kind of went away. I think I'm not going to say botched. He didn't execute it the way he had intended to one year. And so I think they kind of moved away from that. And now I feel it's kind of like the Io Sky trash can
Trash
dive
can.
in War Games. Is there a woman's participant that always kind of nearly gets eliminated now? I feel like they had
Was
started
it?
a
I
couple
think
years ago.
Casey, whatever the
Oh,
American
Cat
Ninja
Zero.
Warrior, yeah, whatever her WWE name was. I think she had done that a few times. And again, I don't ever see Kofi as a legitimate Mania winner or a Rumble winner. So his little spots became those things to look for to see, okay, what is he going to do this year?
Right.
To me, it never really took away from the match or him being in the match, but I think it's just one of those little things that that kind of juice up that portion of the Rumble because the Rumble does have ebbs and flows. So,
Yeah, because
uh,
it is, it's a 60 plus minute match.
yeah.
And our attention spans these days, I know AEW still does a lot of the longer runtime matches
Mm-hmm.
and even on WWE PLEs, with only having 4 matches or 5 matches now, typically they go a little longer probably than they used to. But I think for attention span, you have to have those R-Truth, or you didn't say R-Truth, but an R-Truth moment where he comes in and thinks it's a tag match or he brings a ladder
Or a
match.
ladder match, yeah.
I like that. And, the year we were talking about near eliminations, the year that Otis was out there with Mandy
Yeah.
Rose and she landed on him and her feet. Yeah, I look for those kinds of things. And yeah, it's campy, it's cheesy, it's not uh realistic or
Yeah.
whatever the diehard fans may think, it's silly or whatever. But yeah, you have to do things like that to make a match of that length watchable to everyone. And I think
Yeah.
that, you know, it is the one or I guess the women's and the men's that I spend the entire time sitting in front of the TV. I'm not scrolling my phone. I'm not running to the bathroom. I am watching that match to see what is going to happen next.
So my question for you would be over the years, because Pat Patterson created the concept of the Rumble, which I
Mhm.
think they had done on some house show. I know they did one in
Oh,
St. Louis, but I
yeah.
think even before that, I think they had done it like in the San Francisco area. Not maybe not WWF, but promotion that Pat had worked, and that's
Uh-huh.
where the idea had come from. You look at those early Rumbles, and you can see the storylines being woven in, with who comes out when and
Yeah.
what happens. To me, the last couple of years haven't really had that, and I don't know how long Pat Patterson's been gone. Um, but do you feel like is it just me, or do you feel also that the booking of the Rumble match itself isn't as intricate as it has been in the past?
Honestly, I hadn't really thought about it. So I guess my short answer is I don't know. And maybe partly, age with getting older and maybe
Mm-hmm.
seeing through some or paying more attention to those kinds of things. But yeah, sometimes the planning is a little too obvious, like
Mm-hmm.
in 89, the first Rumble on pay-per-view, the first two participants are Demolition, who are the tag team champions at the time. And so, um, what are the odds that they are going to draw one and two? You know what I mean? Or then that the third man out is one of their nemesis and Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it gets a little too story, or you know what
Spot
I'm
on.
yeah. But then, I also like it when Andre's in there wrestling, and then Jake the Snake is next in, and he
Mm-hmm.
drops the snake in, and Andre, eliminates himself because he's
Mm-hmm.
afraid of the snake. So, but I am trying to think of instances
I
where
mean,
Corey has kind of flowed with the Rumble in the last few years, and
yeah.
off the top of my head, like I said, though, I'm rattling off stuff from '89, but I can't think of what they did
Well,
last year with
yeah,
the.
I think I can't remember what I was watching, but I saw something recently about the '89 Rumble, and the reason why they went with Axe Smash is because the concept of every man for
Yeah,
himself, and they wanted to really show that. And
yeah,
it's like, and you wouldn't have gotten tag team partners facing off in any other situation. So it was an I mean, I agree with you. Like, oh, what are the odds? But I think you could say that about like any numbers. Like, oh, what are the odds that 1 in 30 if you're actually looking at statistics? Um, but it works. For me, and I think this whole episode is just me going to be shitting on the Attitude Era. Um, that 99, I think it's 99 Rumble where Mick Foley is in as the three faces of Foley.
98.
98.
Yeah.
Um, I that just I hate that. I know a lot of fans enjoyed it because it was clever and gimmicky, but to me, it was just too gimmicky because it's like, okay, what would happen if Mankind hadn't got thrown out? Who would have came in at that spot, or did Mick intentionally get thrown out so that he could come back at that? I just, yeah, that one took me out of the Rumble.
And see, and I'm one of those. I 100% disagree. I loved it, and yeah, you have to do some suspension of belief because
Yeah,
like you said, what if he'd won the whole, and then also like what happened backstage? Like how did he
yeah,
then get two other spots? Did he take out two other participants, or
yeah.
in that encapsulated in that moment? I loved it, and even 30 or almost 30 years later, I still look back on that and uh, God, that is almost 30 years ago. Doing the math, I'm like, it's 28 years ago. Um, I liked it and I enjoyed it. I thought it again, it made it something, that kind of that moment, that Royal Rumble moment, if you will, or
Mm.
moments, not unlike the Kofi or the R-Truth stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. And, I said in the last few weeks on the show that booking for moments seems to be a
Right.
precedent more than
Yeah.
the good storytelling. So again, do I remember anything else about the '98 Rumble? Probably very little. But do I
Yeah.
remember the three faces of Foley? So, and again, do I remember anything from last year's Rumble?
I remember Tina and Jay being on the apron. I think I told you this story. I was
Who?
watching in a bar in Waterloo, Illinois. We'd gone out for the weekend, but I remember and thinking, I thought Cena was going to win it. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's really kind of for me the only moment that stands out that I remember from
Hmm.
that Rumble. So
I mean, actually, I just had a brain freeze that I couldn't even tell you who won the Rumble last year as I was saying that sentence. And then I didn't hear what you said. I thought you said Tina and Jay. And I'm like, who the heck are Tina and Jay?
Cena and Jay.
Yeah, Cena makes sense. Jay, I still was like, who's Jay?
Yeah. So do you have any? And we've got weeks, and we'll talk about the
Hmm.
Rumble probably again coming up. But any quick predictions for who wins? You mentioned
Hmm.
LA Knight for the men's.
Yeah,
The
which
women,
I
yeah, go
again,
ahead.
LA Knight coming back and winning, I think would be interesting, but it also plays into the trope that I hated with Cody winning his, Rumble, where person goes out with injury and then comes back and wins the Rumble.
Hmm.
We've seen it so many times that it's like, it's almost too predictable in a sense. You know,
Is Knight
I,
hurt?
I mean, in storyline, yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't.
yeah, because
I wasn't.
he got tsunamied on top of a car, I believe.
Oh, okay, okay. Because the last I remember of LA Knight was him losing to Gunther for the Cena
Tournament.
last match.
Yeah.
I,
And I was going to get ready to say that I think the way things are going, Gunther should be in the final four at least, given the way that he's being presented as, the retirement killer.
yeah.
But again, do we need to see Gunther win the Rumble at this state? I think in the last 4 years he's been pretty big anyway. And then that's things. Do you go with someone who again is established like Gunther, like we wanted Punk or Cody, or do you go with that unexpected route, a la Jey Uso, and just hope the fans buy into the winner? Because if that's the case, then El Grande Americano should be winning this thing.
Well, and which incarnation? The
I
Ludwig Kaiser, El
don't know
Grande?
what you're talking about.
Well, and that's the other interesting thing too is and not to crap on Jey Uso, but
Hmm.
I would say the odds are pretty good that he's defending the tag team titles at this year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Last year he was winning the heavyweight title, and I'm not saying that's a step back or whatever the case may be, but
Hmm.
again, we go back to the 80s, and I don't think we would have seen Axe or Smash win the Rumble and then face Hogan at Mania, win the belt, and then go back and reform. And again, times change, and I get all that, but I, I just, I kind of like you. I never, I don't hate the Yeet, but I don't embrace it either. And I'm all for guys improving themselves and getting the single. But I think that there's just as much value as being a good tag team.
Hmm.
And I think that's what the Usos have established themselves as one of the best tag teams in the company's history. So um, I don't know. I think it's an interesting to kind of look back from year to year at the Rumbles as well and see where we're at and where we're headed.
Yeah.
But Jey Uso theoretically may not even be in this year's Rumble if they are going the tag team route. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see where that takes us. So the what about the women? I feel like uh, Stephanie Vaquer, the women's champion, one of the women's champions, and then God, I'm drawing a blank. Who's the other women's
Jade
champion?
Cargill.
Oh yeah, I guess they're setting her up to go with um God.
Jordan Grace.
Thank you, former TNA star Jordan Grace, who I guess got called up from NXT.
Yeah.
Uh, and how much influence will TNA, because the women's Rumble, I think, has struggled in the past with talent pool wise,
Hmm.
as far as having enough women in there. There are a lot of women on the rosters of NXT, Raw, and SmackDown, obviously now, but we have seen those outsiders come in, those surprises. What are your thoughts on a surprise entrant, a Joe Hendry that we've seen before? Does it take away? Do you think, oh, there's no, or now that TNA kind of has this affiliation with WWE, is there a possibility that a TNA star wins the Rumble and challenges at WrestleMania? Is that plausible? Is it ever
There's
plausible?
not even a chance that a TNA star will win an NXT title, much less a main
Okay.
roster title.
So do you ever see a day where a surprise entrant wins the Rumble? And I'm not talking about a John Cena in 2008. That was, he was an active
Mhm.
roster member, but someone not currently active on WWE's roster. Could they have gone last year with Joe Hendry winning the
Yeah.
Royal Rumble and challenging Gunther for the title? Would that have worked?
Well, I mean, my opinion is no, because again, I don't see Joe Hendry as a main level star. I think he's a meme. He's something you put for social media clicks.
Okay, well, could an NXT?
He's
We'll keep it
I
with
mean, I think,
WWE umbrella.
and granted, they've been promoting him heavily, and that's another topic that I wanted to touch on, my whole nitpicking scenario. But Obafemi could easily come in, win the
Yeah,
Rumble, and go on.
yeah,
Um, and if that was the case, I think it would have been better to not heavily promote him coming to the main roster.
yeah.
I think having him just show up. Um, I think if you're going to have, for example, a TNA roster member come and do it, the cynic in me says it has to be an ex WWE guy. It has to be Nick Nemeth,
Yeah.
or it's not going to be like, I think Santana or Kazarian, whoever is TNA champion come the Rumble, should be in the Rumble if they're going to do a surprise TNA
Hmm.
entrant. But, because I know Mickey James was TNA women's champion when she showed up in the Rumble. And I can't remember if Jordan Grace was Knockouts champion or not
Yeah.
when she was in there. Um, but yeah, I don't see anybody that hasn't been affiliated with WWE before coming over from TNA and being in the Rumble.
So Tessa Blanchard, for example, I think, and I don't know what she's doing on the current product or not,
Mm-hmm.
but do you see someone like her who maybe hasn't wrestled for WWE but has
No,
the name recognition? And I know maybe not necessarily all in the best of circumstances, but you know, second generation wrestler. She was the TNA heavyweight champion at one time, was she
yeah,
not?
yeah.
The first woman to do that. Um, is her reputation too damaged, do you think, to be in the WWE spotlight? I see some clips of her on social media for TNA's pages,
You
but
know, from what I've seen, and I think this goes back to, not everybody needs to have a voice that we need to hear,
mhm,
but it seems like there was just a contingent of the online fandom, if you will, that because something once happened, that dictates everything now.
yes.
Again, I don't know the situation. I've seen Tessa's responses and an apology, if you will, or whatever. But is it something that should be haunting her for the rest of her career?
Hmm.
From what little, again, I know of the situation, I don't think so. It's not like she murdered somebody and then went on to be the corner man at WrestleMania 1.
Hmm.
So, um, but
Bob Orton kill.
what's that?
Who'd Bob
Bob
Orton
Orton.
kill?
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Barry O. But it's one of those things where it's like, what will it take for fans to stop being assholes, basically?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, I mean, I think Tessa should be. If they're, I think she would be a credible person that you could put in there and have be someone that fans that know her would buy into.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder too, if an outsider for lack of a better word, won the Royal Rumble, ever wins the Royal
Yeah.
Rumble. So do the fans sour and say you took away an opportunity from a current roster
Yeah.
star, or superstar, whatever the case may be. So it is an interesting thing, and as we were talking, and then I'm wondering, would they ever do? Because I don't think NXT gets highlighted very much on at the WrestleMania show, which I get that they do their own PLEs, quote
Mhm.
unquote, and those kinds of things. But I wonder if we'll ever see a day where the NXT championship, because I don't think any NXT championship has ever been defended at WrestleMania. I may be wrong about that,
I don't
but
think so.
you know, because I think Ethan Page has recently made a point about, it's not developmental. We're all but I think NXT is still, by most fans, viewed as developmental because there's a lot of up and coming talent mixed in with some of that AEW, former AEW or former TNA talent that's there, and then they eventually make it to that main roster. But it is a delicate balance, I think, and interesting to see what they'll utilize or who they'll utilize uh, in the Royal Rumble because I feel like the one thing about the Rumble in the last few years is we don't necessarily get the DDPs or Kevin Nash's coming out anymore, like the legends
Yeah.
coming out. We're seeing more of the up and coming, which I think is respectable. And I don't necessarily want to see the Rumble increase to 40 participants just to get a couple of legend pops and then the
Yeah.
up and comers. I think they're moving in the right direction with the because I don't think Tatanka is going to win and go to challenge Drew McIntyre. But I think Obafemi could win, and I would rather see that match than a Kevin Nash or a DDP challenge for the championship. Again, when you're taking it into the context, the
Yeah.
reality, if you want me to buy in as a fan, I
Yeah.
want to believe that any one of these 30 people is going to win and then go on and wrestle for the title. So
Yeah. So you don't think I Show Speed had a chance last year?
yeah, there are still going to be those that come in there, and again, it's booking or creating those moments that because I think that I Show Speed is still popping up as different clips throughout as they go to promote
Um,
that year's Rumble. So, any other thoughts as we wind down this week's episode, Chad?
well, not on the Rumble itself per se, but I do have, again, a couple of nitpicky things I was going to get your
Yeah.
view on. So before the last Saturday night's main event, there was an NXT event where Ricky Saints was champion, challenging Obafemi. Whoever was champion would go on to face Cody Rhodes at Saturday night's main event.
Uh-huh.
Obafemi won the title back. I don't know if you saw it, but last week on NXT, he defended the title and then left the title in the middle of the ring and walked off.
Mm.
Because again, they've been promoting him as coming to the main roster. He has WWE, I believe, has said that he has vacated the title.
Yeah.
So my question is, why put the title back on him to take it, have him give it up 3 weeks later?
Yeah, that seems quick, and was Ricky Saint the heavyweight champion or the
Yeah,
NXT champion?
yeah,
Yeah, I interesting decision because a lot of and I guess it is there has always been a formula of the champion loses, puts over someone, and then goes on.
mm-hmm.
We and I'm drawing a blank on an exact instance of when that's happened, but we see somebody that loses, look at and again, I guess he didn't technically lose it, but Stone Cold Steve Austin when he threw the Intercontinental title into the river or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was, and basically vacated the IC belt and then went on to win the heavyweight title.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a precedence there of a champion. But then again, with a guy like Obafemi, and I don't know what the plan is, but he is, at least appearance wise,
Mm-hmm.
think, and not to quote Paul Heyman, but like the next big thing. And do they want to make him look strong or even stronger?
Mm-hmm.
He's so confident that I don't need this NXT. But then does that diminish the NXT brand as well?
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of a balancing act of all of those things of the
Yeah,
reputation of NXT that you're trying to build and establish versus now this massive superstar, massive in size, I say, not necessarily in stature at this point yet,
yeah.
but I think that's coming. So it's a gamble. It's interesting, and from your perspective, I see what you're saying, and I don't necessarily agree with how they did that either.
Mm,
Like, what was the point of having him? He could have just destroyed Ricky Saint and not won the belt.
mm.
Because I don't know that I would have. Obviously, giving him the exposure on Saturday Night's Main Event was important for the
Yeah.
next move. So I get that part of it. So
And then
uh,
that match too ended with Drew McIntyre interfering in the match and the match being thrown out.
yeah. So I yeah, I think I would have saved him and done something even bigger with that. But
Yeah.
again, getting that exposure on Saturday Night's Main Event was important. But I don't like how it played out. The match,
Mm.
ending with DQ and whatever. Should Obafemi have destroyed Cody and won the belt?
Well, it
I,
wasn't for the
I
title.
would
I mean, it was a
what?
it was a non-title match. It was
But that's what
just
I'm saying. Should it have
yeah.
been if they're going
Mhm.
to take the title away from Cody a month later anyway? And I know obviously they had plans for Drew or whatever, but
Yeah.
would a quick run for Obafemi have been bad? And then Oba drops it to Drew the other night on. I don't know.
Mhm.
Again, that's why I'm not a booker of
Mhm.
wrestling. So, but from a
And-
film perspective,
yeah.
I could have seen that happening, and uh, because if they are going to put their chips or their eggs in the Obafemi basket, which we've talked ad nauseum about needing to build that next line of talent,
Yeah.
that could have he could have been the one to bank on and go with. But again, that's why we're sitting here talking about it, and
Mhm.
not actually in
In
Connecticut.
Stanford, yeah.
Doing
All right, and then my last thing. This is fun for your put on your tinfoil hats. We're going to go into conspiracy theories. Is you said you have not watched Unreal season one,
I haven't.
right? Okay, but during Raw last week, the Stranger Things episode, they did show the trailer for season two, which comes out in a couple weeks. One of the storylines that they touch on is R-Truth getting released and coming back. WWE has not done anything meaningful with R-Truth since bringing him back.
Right.
The fans don't care that they haven't done, seemingly don't care that they haven't done anything with R-Truth. You know,
Mhm.
was his release done purely to have a storyline for Unreal and were the we want truth chants spontaneous and organic, or planted by WWE to get that aspect of the story to be told? And then once truth is back, well, you've already got your story and you can move on, and fans don't care anymore. Or do fans just not care enough about R-Truth? They just wanted something to chant during the show.
I think fans wanted R-Truth there. I think that, and I will watch Unreal to get the scoop, if you will. But to me, it seemed like, and without knowing all of the situation,
Yeah.
to me, it felt like someone who doesn't know what they're doing, a suit decided we're cutting people from the roster, cut this guy. He's 53 years old. He's been here for 25 years or however long he's been there.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And I think that he's one of those beloved characters that even though and I don't necessarily agree fans don't care, but I think that he's like that comfortable pair of shoes. He's that
Mm.
comfortable sweatshirt in the closet. I'm not going to wear it every week, but I'll be damned if I want to throw it out. I want it there. I want to know that it's there. And I think R-Truth is one of those wrestlers that we don't necessarily need to see him week in and week out, but we want him on the roster. We want him to be a part of the show from time to time. And so I think they made a rash decision. They fired him or released him, whatever you want to say. And then there was a backlash. I think the backlash was legitimate. Um, and then they brought him back and I almost kind of fear that this is going to happen with Matt Cardona. He's back, but are they going to use him? Are they going to do anything with him? I don't see R-Truth ever being heavyweight champion. I think that it was nice that he was a little part of the Cena retirement tour and whatnot, but I think that it went from a legit firing to then becoming a storyline. I don't think that there was a plan there. The hand kind of got forced, almost kind of like the whole go back a year or two. And again, I haven't watched Unreal, so I don't know if they've already discussed this, but when they did the thing with Cody and The Rock and Cody giving up his title shot, I don't necessarily believe that that was all part of a story. I think
No, I
that,
don't either.
yeah, the
Yeah,
fan
that I
react,
believe is legit.
yeah. And I kind of feel that way with R-Truth as well. I think that they legit parted ways, but I don't think it was Paul Levesque's decision or anyone in the day-to-day creative of WWE. I think it was a suit that said we got to cut from the P&Ls and all that, all the corporate bullshit that you hear about, which I get it's necessary to be successful. But I think someone just made a bad call and the fans called them out on it and they for once did listen to that voice and brought him back in. So I don't know. What do you think?
I believe in Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster because I think it makes life more interesting. So I'm going with conspiracy theory. That's CONS piracy. Um, because it just again, but the fact that they haven't, and again, not that they haven't done anything with Truth lately, but even after they brought him back and he
Right.
cut that serious promo where he was now Ron Killings,
Yeah.
and granted, maybe if the Cena heel turn storyline had actually been decent and had something going with it, maybe Truth would have been more involved, or they would have done something with him. But once Cena just like, oh nope, I'm a good guy again, and then he runs
Yeah.
into Truth backstage, and they're like, oh, we're buddies again. You're my hero,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, I agree with you. I think a decision probably was made by somebody who doesn't know WWE, the business side of WWE, or
Mhm.
maybe not the business, but the presentable side of WWE. Um, because yeah, I mean, if you're looking just strictly at numbers, like you said, a 50-year-old guy who's been there for 25 years, they haven't done anything with, is
Mhm.
probably making more money than you want to be paying them.
Yeah.
But for it to be fired and come back so soon, and then again, and I think also the fact that the fan and this were I don't know. And I think fans also have goldfish memories to where they're like, hey, this thing was popular this week, but now we're over here. And so we completely forget what's over here. It's like as soon as Truth came back, it stopped, but there was no groundswell to actually use him. So
Right.
is it just like, hey, we want this guy to be employed, but we don't care if we actually see him or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's a good
And
point.
if so, I wish somebody would do that for me so that WWE can put me on a guaranteed contract and I can not have to show up for work and go to
Wonderful.
Burlington Coat Factory.
Yes. Yes, yes, indeed. Well, friends, we want to hear from you as well. Again, enter the Royal Rumble contest, but also weigh in. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode with some of the talking points we had. Has the Royal Rumble lost its luster through the years? It's 30 plus years of memories here going on, almost 40 years. So, do you still anticipate and look forward to it like I do? I know for sure, but let us know. Weigh in. And other than that, we will see you next time.